Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Funk Chronicles. I'm Turk Logan, your host from Logan Communication and the Funk Music Hall of Fame and Exhibition Center. Today I have a very, very special guest, and we're going to chat with him all the way from Dallas, Texas, Mr. Kym Yancey. And Kym, are you there?
I am here. Great to be with you this morning, Turk.
Great to see you again after so many years, man. How you been?
Good. Where you been? No.
Well, I had a little setback last year, but, I'm not parallel. At least I'm straight up.
I like that. I like that. You look good straight.
Yeah. What has Kym Yancey been doing I know we talked offline a couple weeks ago, but you've been in Dallas, Texas for many years, but what have you been doing in Dallas, Texas since you left Ohio?
Well, I came here in '96, and actually, when I had my advertising agency in Dayton, I had a client here in Texas that was launching a positive TV television network, and it so intrigued me and so aligned with what I was about, Turk, that he asked me if I would come here and run all the marketing for his television network. And so that's what brought me here in 1996 to handle all the marketing and global strategy for this new television network that later, a couple of years later, was sold to a whole nother company.
Well, in talking to you, you told me how progressive Dallas, Texas is. And I like Dallas, Texas. Even though I've never been there, I just like Dallas, Texas. So I guess it kind of backs up what you actually say about it.
You know what, Turk? The interesting thing when I came here, I had heard stories about Texas being a very vibrant market and, hey, it's really growing and, this is the time to come out here. And what I've come to realize is that this city, cities have personalities and their own kind of cultures. And I've never been in a city that has such what I call a can-do or unlimited kind of culture where, whatever it is you want to do, the opportunity is here. And if you run into a blockage anywhere, there's always another way to get around it. And so, but I told someone my first week here, I remember, it took me 6 months before, we ended up building a house here and that kind of thing. But I was staying in a hotel for about 6 months. And in this hotel, there was a shoe shine guy, great guy. His name was Lloyd. He and I would, talk. But I'll never forget the first time I got a shoe shine from Lloyd, man. And Lloyd was a brother, and he was shining my shoes, and I asked him, I said, Lloyd, hey, how do you like Dallas? And I remember Lloyd saying to me, man, this place is unbelievable. This is just, I can't imagine being anyplace else. And I thought, you know what? When's the last time a shoe shine guy told you that everything is just unbelievable? In other words, from a perception standpoint, no matter who you talk to, they had good things to say. So I got to tell you, it's been really great for me and my family.
My car washed at in Kettering, Ohio. There's a shoe shine guy by the name of Grady. And he has a pulse of everything that's going on in the city because everybody comes to him to get the shoe shine. So I understand exactly what you're saying. Kym, you were with one of the legendary groups called Sun from Dayton, Ohio. And talk about how that evolved and where it actually came from and all you guys getting together and everything.
Well, I was one of the new members of the group. In other words, Byron Byrd, and they had the Ohio Majestics. And it was a group of guys, some from Roosevelt, some from Rolfe, but a group of guys that in high school that all played together. Chris Jones, who passed away last year, as you know, and John Wagner and Hollis Melson and Byron Byrd and just a great group of guys. And I had my own band that I had. And as a matter of fact, John Wagner, the trumpet player before it was called Sun, it was called the Overnight Low, was the guy who recruited me out of the band that I was in. But it was an unbelievable time. playing at that time. Byron had a studio in his garage on West First Street, is where he had a house right across the bridge, and he had a garage with two levels, and we would practice up there. But I got to tell you, Turk, it was a magical period, and I even at that time, we were all so close to it. It was you couldn't even fathom the level of talent, musical talent, back then when we started kicking. So this was 1974, 1975 when all this was kicking off.
Well, I guess when you said you guys rehearsed in a band, I guess that was part of the terminology where garage bands came from.
Right.
And
that's exactly right, man.
as you guys progressed, you ended up getting a record deal.
Yeah.
And the record deal was with Capitol Records, I believe.
Yeah, it was. In fact, getting that record deal was something else because the band, when we actually got that record deal, the band had disbanded. There was this brief period of time where the band was not practicing, the band had not been together. Bo Ray Fleming, the manager at our time, who also has passed away, used to live in New York City. Bo shopped, and Bo, by the matter of fact, our manager also managed another group called Mandrill, which is really hot. And later, when Sun was, while we were performing, he also picked up another group called GQ.
Okay.
That had that big smash. But the fact is, this was really about selling a dream, because Bo had some tracks of the band, played it to Larkin Arnold, who was head of A&R artist repertoire for Capitol Records, and I'll never forget, Bo actually, Larkin Arnold wanted to see the band, and Bo actually brought him to Dayton, Ohio, and the band wasn't together. And I met Larkin, and he said, "Hey, this is Kym Yancey, he's the drummer. Here's Byron." And he explained that the band was just going through a little reprieve at the moment. I don't know what he was thinking, man. I don't know if he thought that at the last minute he could pull the guys together. But the bottom line is, Larkin Arnold with Capitol Records liked the music so much, he said, "Hey, look, I'm going to go ahead and take a risk and sign these guys."
I know Larkin, and I remember Larkin when he was with CBS. Speaking of Bo Ray Fleming, I don't know if you can see this picture, but this is you and Bo Ray Fleming, and I thought it was in London, England, but it says December of 1978. So, and I was in London in 1977. So, but I never told you the story that happened with Bo Ray Fleming and myself. Bo called me one time, and he was just turning me out over the phone. "Why aren't you playing Sun? And we've got all these records being played around the country, and how come you're not playing Sun?" And
no kidding.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was in my office, and I thought I would just kind of tighten him up a little bit. So what I did was I got an old 12-inch record, and I said, "Bo, and I put him on speakerphone. I said, you listening to the phone?" He said, "Yeah, man, I'm listening." He called me from New York, and I took the record and I smashed it on my desk. I said,
"Wow.
That's your record, you son of a gun, you." He said, "Oh no, what did you do?" Because it wasn't you guys' record. I said, "Bo, what you don't know about me, I always supported Dayton, Ohio groups, and we've been playing the song on our survey and so on and so forth." And I'll never forget, in 1977, I was in London, England. I was at the Playboy Club in London, England, and I started getting these drinks from somebody, and all of a sudden, I said, "Well, where are these drinks coming from?" And Bo was sitting behind this big elephant plant. And he said, "Man, I'm so sorry for what I did, man." He came over and we just kind of kissed and made up. And, he was really into his group's Sun. Kym, have you been doing any production, any performances or anything since you've been away from it?
Okay, so all right. So after I left the group, it was 1981. We were in South America. We were on a tour down there. Sun was real big in South America, because we looked so multicultural, and so people really identified with us in that market. But I remember I left that group, ended up starting an advertising agency, and really, you know what? When I got out of the group, a group is just like a business, right? It has its ups and downs. There were far more ups than there were downs, but economically, we were just going through a really tough period. And so I ended up getting out of the band, and just to keep the cash flow going, it ended up doing jingles. And so musically, it's actually kind of backwards, because you hear about people who maybe start out doing jingles and end up getting a record deal. We had the record deal, and I ended up doing jingles, and that turned into a full service advertising agency. So for 15 years after I had left Sun, and after we had our big hit, Sun Is Here, I Had a Choice, Want to Make Love, Come Flick My Bick, Radiation Level, all those songs, I did the advertising thing. So I used a lot of music then. I was hiring all these musicians. I mean, I had Jimmy from the Ohio Players play drums on some of the jingles. We had Belinda from Midnight Star. She was in the studio doing jingles. Keith Harrison. I mean, we had an unbelievable lineup of phenomenal musicians, and we were winning awards like you can't believe, Turk. And then, we ended up doing a bunch of jingles for WDAO, which were unlike any jingles any station ever did.
Well, I remember, because you guys were in Xenia, Ohio.
Exactly.
So yeah, I remember. As a matter of fact, this is a picture of Sun's radiation level from the promotion that you guys did for WDAO. I think it's Langford Stevens and myself, and
Yeah.
I always kept this picture for that reason, for historical reasons. And also, you're in a new venture right now called Living Happy. Give me a few minutes about that.
Okay, so a year and a half ago, all right, so through all of that, Turk, I ended up where I am today. Is I've come to a place where I've really done a lot of research behind happiness around, so many of us, man, we get to a point in our life where we're thinking about, man, what is this all about? Everybody is doing what they do ultimately for happiness. And I really wanted to research this and really discovered that most of us have the whole wrong thought around what happiness really is. We really don't know what authentic happiness is. And most of us think that happiness is about, what I call the prize at the end of the rainbow. And it's not the prize at the end of the rainbow. It's the gift right from the beginning. That happiness actually is, and the science has proven that happiness is the precursor to success. And the happiness comes first. The happiness is available to everybody right now. We just haven't learned how to tap into it, Turk. So what I've done is I've launched a magazine. It's a year and a half old right now. It's the fastest selling magazine in the history of Whole Foods. It's at Barnes and Noble. It's in, it's in book stands all over the country and airports. People are subscribing to it. In less than a year and a half, we have over 300,000 paid circulation for the magazine. We have over 900,000 readers. So it's all about the science, the academic proof, and the studies around happiness, but I put it in a lifestyle magazine format. I have an incredible writing team. So what we're doing, Turk, is we got a little lofty goal, and our goal is to make the planet a happier place. There's so much negative news that something had to be done. And so instead of talking about it, we launched this program, and we're having an incredible time.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Dayton, Ohio, and the Funk Museum Hall of Fame and Exhibition Center. We have a major league project that started probably about a year or so ago, and under the auspices of David Webb, who is the president and CEO. And we are planning at some point in time putting a funk museum in Dayton, Ohio, like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Give me your assessment of the need for that here in Dayton, Ohio.
Oh, I mean, I think the need is tremendous. I mean, first of all, it's all about inspiration and empowerment. And, it'll give, first of all, our community, we just, I don't like to use the word deserve. Let me just say, I can't think of another city that's more qualified to represent the funk, Hall of Fame. I mean, I can't think of any place else really in the world where there's been such a focus on funk music than in Dayton, Ohio, and the groups and what we all accomplished. But I mean, something like that for us would be incredible, but economically it would be phenomenal. But it would be a place of pride, and I think it's very important.
Well, maybe at some point in time, as we develop and progress, because we've been doing the Funk Chronicles here at DATV for some time now, and it's starting to catch on. The Dayton Daily News writing articles about it, and I'm told Time Warner Cable is running it on Channel 5, and so it's starting to grow. Maybe at some point in time you can maybe even do an article on the Funk Museum Hall of Fame in your magazine, and maybe we can get some publicity and promotion, because this is a worldwide event that we're trying to do.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about education. You know, I know you've been heavily involved in education. We're more than just a museum. We have an educational piece as well. And so let's talk about how important education is.
Well, you know what? I mean, can you imagine a world where, we just remain stagnant, where we weren't growing, where we were expanding, and the ideas and creativity, and just Turk, I mean, education is everything. And I tell people, this is not about also what you learn in school. I mean, formal education will earn you a living, and that's very important, but it doesn't stop. Self-education will earn you a fortune. And so it's very important that you're constantly renewing, re-educating. The world changes so much. I mean, when I have my advertising agency today, I mean, not one thing that I was doing in the advertising industry, over 15 years ago applies today. I mean, in that time, social media, all of that has come into play. A whole new terminology has come into play. So, I mean, it's imperative that you are constantly renewing, educating, recharging, everything about you. You don't want to get in a situation where you recycle the same old thinking all the time.
Right.
I mean, just to recycle what's always been in your mind doesn't take you anywhere.
You know, I almost had the pleasure of visiting with your lovely wife, Sandra, last year. It just happened to be in February, and the weather was just so bad, didn't get a chance to go to that with the event that Ricky Poole was pulling off in Dayton, Ohio, and I'm told that he may do that again later on this year. So what has she been involved in?
Well, Sandra leads the largest women's international business network in North America. It's called eWomen Network. You got to check it out, anybody, ewomennetwork.com. But it's a network of women entrepreneurs helping women. There are men involved as well. There are men who join, but it's a membership-based organization. It's got 118 chapters spread across over 500,000 women connected to these chapters. They do the largest women's international business conference every year. It's 4 days here in Dallas. This year will be their 15th annual. So she just put in, hey, Turk, you'll take this. She just put in a whole new broadcast studio, a TV broadcast facility inside her corporate office. So, you talk about just expansion and moving into new directions, just to help women with their on-camera presentations and help them with their sales message. So what she does day in and day out is that. And then she also has a charity called the eWomen Network Foundation. And you might not know this, but CNN named the eWomen Network Foundation an American hero because of what we did during Hurricane Katrina to help a school in Pass Christian that we adopted and put in a whole new basketball floor and help the kids with new basketball gear and outfits and everything else.
Well, there are a lot of couples out there that have businesses and whatnot. But what I've noticed with you and your wife, you seem to be a tandem couple, and you just seem to kind of bounce off of each other's ideas and everything, and it just seems to be working for both of you.
There are a lot of couples I find that work together, and honestly, there needs to be some kind of workshop or something about working together. Now, let me tell you, Sandra and I were also the couple that before we started working together, if you had said, hey, can you guys imagine working with each other? We were the first ones to say, oh, I could never work with her, or she'd say, I could never work with him,
Right.
But we started, the eWomen Network was started by both of us, and you know what? We just learned how to work with each other in the same sandbox. And
well,
I'll tell you something.
One thing I do know is that when you were with Son, you were a drummer, and you
Right.
were a hell of a drummer, as a matter of fact, because I had the opportunity of coming in the studio and watching you guys work. because a lot of the stuff you did was in Dayton, Ohio. Give me in about 2 minutes, give me a synopsis of where your background came from as far as the drums concerned.
I was in love with drums at a very early age. And, so I mean, I was in the fourth and fifth grade and was beating up the pots and pans in the house. It was just something about one day I saw a drummer, Turk, and he just captivated me. I love the fact that, the guitar players and everybody were playing, and they seemed so close to me at that time. The drummer seemed like the guy that all the hands were moving, the body, every body part was being used. I thought, man, that is what I want to do. And it just captivated me. So just at an early age, and you find that with a lot of musicians, whether guitar players, bass player, they see somebody else. And, and I got to tell you, I remember being a freshman in high school at Chaminade High School, and the Ohio players played at one of our dances, man, before, they were famous. And I mean, I was mesmerized by them. At that time, Jimmy wasn't playing with them. It was a whole other drummer, Greg Webster. But you know what? That's how it was. I was just mesmerized by those drums and just loved it and just practiced as much as I could.
Well, Jimmy told his story. We were together in Dayton, Ohio, a year or so ago, and he told his story, how he got with the Ohio players. And he was saying that Greg got sick, who was the drummer at the time. He got sick, and when he got sick, then they needed a drummer, obviously, and then he stepped in, and Greg was never able to get his job back because right. Jimmy stepped in many, many years ago, and that's an interesting story, how he became the drummer for the Ohio players. Kym, in closing, give us something for the Funk Museum and your assessment of everything we're trying to do here. And let's you and I definitely stay in touch. And as your paper grows, as your magazine grows, we want to definitely make sure that we're able to follow that progress.
Yeah, first of all, I want everybody to know that it's a gift. First of all, Turk, you're a gift to be carrying the torch, but to keep moving this forward. So having that Funk Museum, because guess what? This isn't going to happen without leadership and without someone driving the message and keeping it out in front of people. So first of all, just kudos and bravo to you, to what you're doing and the people surrounding you that are supporting you to make this happen and be a reality. And, I just want to also invite everybody to, please check out livehappy.com and, and hey, listen, and plug into it. Go to the website and look at what we're doing and some of the opportunities that we have that are just free and available to people. But, I just say, look, I'm just so proud of Dayton. I'm so proud of what we're about as a community. I'm so proud of what the musicians brought to the area and what this Funk Museum can represent for us as an incredible legacy for all of the great accomplishment and hard work.
Well, Kym, thanks, man, for joining us on this day for the Funk Chronicles. Good luck to everything you're doing. Tell your lovely wife we say hello, and we'll talk again soon.
You got it, Turk. Thank you.
It's Turk Logan for the Funk Chronicles from Logan Communication and the Funk Music Hall of Fame and Exhibition Center. We'll see you next time.